Where'd he go?
We are live.
Awesome.
Good. I think we're live.
Yeah, I think we are.
Good evening, everyone. Are we? Day 15. We're live.
All right, cool.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is Chris Fiore from the Wine101Show. Tonight, live streaming on huzzah.io. I am a CSW, Certified Wine Specialist by the Society of Wine Educators. I'm also a college professor here locally in Connecticut at Mitchell College in New London. And during the day, I'm a retail bottle jockey, wine bottle jockey. And what does that all mean? It means I like to drink wine. Above all, I'm here to help educate everybody in a non-pretentious manner. So with that, my first guest tonight is Nathan Hann, coming to you live from not Portland, Maine anymore, right?
Close enough.
Close enough, right?
Biddeford, Maine.
There you go. And Nate works for a company called Coffee by Design, and he also runs a company with his family called Storybrooke Imaging Photography. So we're going to chat a little about coffee while we taste some wine tonight. There's some pictures up on social media, my Facebook page, Instagram, and everything else of what we're tasting tonight. If there's any questions, there's a chat room on the side. I encourage everybody to share this event, get involved through the chat room on the side. Try to toss out some questions in the Q&A. If you are drinking something tonight with us, not necessarily what we're drinking, but whatever's in your glass tonight, there is a function on this platform where you can take a selfie and post your picture on the bottom. So I encourage everybody to get involved, do that. All right. So here we go. You ready, buddy?
Sure.
All right.
Let's do it.
Let's crack open the first can before we get started with the Q&A. Ready? So we're going to show everybody what it is. This is Lila Rosé. I sent this to Nate a few weeks ago in the mail. All the wines tonight, if anybody's interested, all the wines are available through my friend's shop in Milford, Connecticut called The Wine and Spirit Company. He does ship to most states. There's about 12 to 15 states he can't ship to by law. But send me an email, send me a tweet, or on Instagram. I can find out for you. We can get shipping prices for you. So pour that in your glass, Nate. Let's take a look at it. And I am drinking out of a beer glass tonight just because I love this glass. I'm not really critical on what type of glass I use. I just like this glass. It's comfortable in my hand. The stem's nice and sturdy. It's got a nice tulip on the top. I'm not a glass snob. I mean, there's dozens and dozens of glasses. You know, this one's nice and comfortable.
This one's new. So that's why I'm drinking out of that.
Oh, this one's new?
It's just new.
Oh, you're breaking it in? It's the only one that's
basically
unboxed right now. Unpacked.
Yeah, basically. I still have boxes behind me. I'm still, still unpacking.
So if you remember, Nate used to be a customer of mine. That's how we met at a store here in New Haven, Connecticut, where him and his wife lived right down the street. That's how we met. And one of the best things about retail that I enjoy is developing relationships with customers. Over the years, you get to know them, get to know what's going on in their lives, and they become friends and, close-knit part of everything. You get like super involved in their lives through conversations.
A little too much, Chris. You know what I'm saying?
A little too much. Probably at some points we got a little too involved. But through conversations, I found out that Nate was involved in the coffee world, which kind of interests me because part of my college course is that I have to teach a coffee section and I have no background in it. So considering that I drink decaf, so everyone kind of looks down at me for that, but I drink good decaf.
That's good. Don't worry. We like you.
Right. There are some good decafs out there. So how did you get involved in the coffee business? I mean, you went to film school where? New York?
Yeah, down on Long Island, right outside the city.
That's where you met your wife.
Yeah. No.
Oh, you did? Okay.
She's it's crazy. She's born and raised on Long Island. Probably crossed paths like at the giant mall that's down there many times, but we didn't meet until I was working at Starbucks up in Massachusetts.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So we I basically started up in, I went to school down there. I worked in a couple coffee shops down there. One happened to be a Barnes & Noble cafe.
Yeah.
Didn't really think anything of it. Basically left New York, moved to Mass, needed a job. I knew Starbucks. And so I went in there and happened to meet someone. My manager happened to care a lot about coffee, and he actually took me under his wing because of wine, because I showed some interest in wine. And he basically, in the industry, we like to compare our coffee industry to wine and beer a lot. Yeah. But yeah, so he basically sparked that little coffee interest. And then I moved on to Blue State Coffee, which is in Rhode Island, Connecticut, if you're in New Haven area. And that's where I met Chris, obviously. Yeah. And from there I got to like buy green coffee, meet farmers. I roasted for a bit, headed up a whole training program, and basically QC for the whole company throughout all 3 states. And the rabbit hole never ends, just like wine. It just keeps going and going.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So let's start off in your glass right now. You've done this with me on a few tastings.
I have.
So pour it in your glass if you haven't already. So what I do, I usually teach people, first-time wine drinkers or novice wine drinkers. I teach them the 5 S's of wine drinking, wine tasting. It's real basic. It works for me. Everybody has their own thing, and I encourage everybody to explore what works for them. This works for me and my students. It's really easy to understand, and it can get complex as you want it to get complex. The more and more you get into this, more you taste, just different things will happen. You'll make it more complex, but don't try not to. It's just wine. All right. So pour it in the glass. Your first S is what? You remember? You don't remember any of my classes, do you?
I kind of do.
All right. Your first. Go ahead.
What was the word you said? First what?
The first S is what?
Oh, first S.
Yeah.
Smell, scent.
No, right? Not yet.
Oh,
first
sight,
S.
Sight.
Correct. There you go.
See, Chris, I was listening.
See? Hey, you pay attention. Good. Somebody's paying attention. Thank God. Everybody just comes to drink. So the first S, when you pour it in your glass, sight, seeing it. So you're looking at the wine. And what are you looking for? You're looking for color. You're looking for clarity. All right. Tonight we're doing a rosé from Provence. It's actually a canned Provence rosé. Provence, southern part of France. All right. This is by the Latitude Beverage Company. You may remember them when you were up in Connecticut, down in Connecticut rather. 90 plus wines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is one of their labels.
Basically, didn't they say that they got like the 90 plus rating on all their wines or something like that?
Right. So after they built up that brand, the 90 plus, they started little offshoot companies, kind of similar. They do another brand, Earth Shaker, which is, really good wines, trying to break away from the 90 plus. Now they started this whole can line called the Lila cans. Come in 4-packs. It's $12 a 4-pack. Yeah, Can Provence. Not two things I would expect. Somebody in the chat room. No. So this is a 2015 Provence, 12% ABV. All right. So the second S, after we looked at it, we're looking for color. We're looking for clarity. You following along?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry. I'm reading the chat. When you said chat, yeah. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, there's a chat room coming up on the side. There's 4 people in there now. So take a look at the color. What are you noticing?
It's not super. I mean, I would say it's not super transparent.
No, right.
But it's got a little murkiness to it. Is that just me?
Maybe just your glass.
For the wrong light. Hey, Chris, it's new. All right.
It's a new glass. Yeah. Usually, if you hold it up against a white piece of paper, a white background, but even still, let's not get technical. So you're looking at it. Pretty much, you're looking for any imperfections. I mean, I'm in the retail business, so that's what I'm looking for. Even some sommeliers will do the same thing. They're looking for imperfections when they're tasting their wines, testing their wines. So if you see any floaters, if this is a still wine, which this is, if there's bubbles coming out of it, that could be an indication that it's bad. Obviously, there's no cork on it. So floaters, any particles floating in it, anything.
Okay.
Dead yeast, cork, sediment, anything. Any kind of funkiness going on. Nothing in there. Nice, clear, except for a pale pink hue. All right. So we give it a swirl. That's our second S. Swirl it.
Okay.
And what are we doing when we swirl it? You remember?
Pay attention to the legs.
No, a good point. I don't pay attention to legs. A lot of guys do. Right. I get a lot of criticism. Good. I get a lot of criticism for it, but I don't pay attention to it because for me, some people say it's an indication of quality, and you know it can very well be alcohol content. Sure, a lot of stuff comes into play, but I always tell people if it has great legs, but you hate the wine, what good is it going to do? What kind of indication is that for you? If you don't enjoy this wine, you know, and it has great legs, then it doesn't, you know, it has no effect for you. It has no, you know, there's nothing there for it. So if it has horrible legs and you like it, the reverse. Say, oh my God, this is delicious. Who cares about the legs? You know what legs are good for? ZZ Top song, Legs. Great song. That's it. I know, poor pun, right? So
that was good. It was good.
Yeah, I try. There's a little humor in what I do. Third S is take a sniff. After you swirl it, you're releasing the esters as you swirl it. Put your nose in the glass, take a sniff. And what do you smell? There's a few things Provence are really, it's really classic nose on it. I mean, you can smell a lot of minerality, you smell some sea salt there. That's what I smell, just because I do this a lot. But for somebody that's not used to this, it's whatever you can identify, whatever you can relate it to. It's not necessarily what I'm smelling. Another person criticized me. I shouldn't be dictating to people. And I try not to. I try to guide them a little bit. Usually if you say something, it registers in their head. I try not to be suggestive, but you know, I try to guide them through. Then all of a sudden somebody will start coming up with their own ideas of what's going on. But
well, I think one of the problems of you know, you're very experienced in this, and then when you put someone right next to you that is nowhere near as experienced as you in this industry, they're going to be a little intimidated. They're not going to come to words very quickly. So I feel like helping guide people, especially in the beginning, with some simple terms, it helps them realize that, oh, wait, I was smelling that the whole time. Right when you said minerality, I was like, oh, yeah, that is actually what I'm smelling.
I mean, there's a good reason for it. Southern France in this region, soil just mainly a shale, limestone, clay, sandstone, quartz, just tons of minerality down in there. That just gets absorbed right up through the roots into the vine, into the grape. It just translates right back into that glass. And the winemaker, if he's really good about it, it's just, he expresses that what they call terroir, which is just indicative of the area. Everything from that area gets translated in through the grape. And I mean, this smells fantastic. This is classic rosé to me from Provence. So that's your third S. That's what I said. Excuse me. What did I start with?
Sight.
See, smell.
Or see.
See.
Sight.
Smell.
And then it was swirl and then smell. Right?
Now here we go for the fourth one.
I'm listening, I swear.
Yeah. You didn't have anything to drink before this, I did. So I get points taken off tonight.
No, I had a beer like 4 hours ago.
Oh, no. So, fourth S. Take a sip. This is the best part. And when you sip it, roll it around your palate. Let it coat everywhere on your palate. Ready? Cheers.
Cheers. Already sipped. Take another.
Oops. Now, what do you taste?
It's tart. It's not overly dry. It's got a nice body to it.
Yeah.
Just a medium to light body, but it's nice right in the beginning. Sweet up front.
Mm-hmm. It's got some good fruit up front. Yep. So in this region, they're most known for their varietals of Grenache, Mourvedre, Syrah, a little bit of a grape called Cinsault. And they're governed by certain laws. So they're what they're called AOC laws. Every region's different, especially when you get into Europe. We talked about this a few times.
It's super complicated.
It's super complicated. France is one of the toughest. So in this region, no two varietals of grapes from this region can compose more than 90% of the blend. So you're looking at multiple grapes making up the blend just to go into this bottle. I know, super complex. So last S, if you haven't done it already, just as you're swallowing it, it's swallow, spit, savor, and that's what we're going to get into at the end. So don't rate it right now. Keep it in the back of your head. Make a mental note of it. All right, because we're going to play a game at the end of this called Spit or Swallow. Yeah, we're going to do Spit or Swallow at the end of it. Again, I don't get into ratings. I just got into a discussion last week with somebody about ratings. I don't get into it. Everybody does it. 90 points, 5 stars. It comes down to 3 different things. You don't like it, you're going to spit it out nonchalantly. Mm-hmm. You're going to sip on it all night and swallow it, which is the second one, swallow. Or you're going to savor this thing. If this thing is so effing good, you're just going to sit back, relax, and milk this thing all night like a baby bottle, hoping the bottle never ends. So that's how we're going to rate these things today. All right.
I like that. That's good.
Excellent choice. So let it sit in your glass. We're going to just keep sipping on it all night as we talk. So at Blue State, you traveled a lot. You traveled extensively, didn't you, with them?
It was just once a year. It was supposed to come into more than just that. But I did travel to Costa Rica. I'd leave for a week every year, meet up with the farmers, meet with mill owners and producers. Basically, I went through one of our importers, Royal Coffee New York. Fantastic company. They basically are top of the game in terms of the coffees that they choose and bring in, and the way they're able to hone in on what your shop is doing and be able to pitch the right coffees that fit with your program. But yeah, so I went in through them every 3 years in a row and made some awesome relationships with farmers down there. I mean, it was crazy too, because Blue State Coffee had been going there for 5 years prior to me. And just being there in the first year and them saying Blue State Coffee, like Nathan from Blue State Coffee, all the farmers would light up because they knew the name. They don't know me, but they know the name. Yeah. And that's huge because they never see their end product. They basically pick from this tree, put it on a truck, deliver it to a mill, and then that's it. And it already has to go, the mill has to process it, strip it from the pulp. Then it has to actually send it off with the exporter, goes to the importer, which then sits in the warehouse, which then gets pitched to the roaster, and the roaster roasts it, and then it goes to the coffee house. You have to actually brew it, see if the end product's good. So this farmer's at the beginning of this chain, and they literally never see their end product, ever. Yeah, they never get to taste their coffee. Yeah. And it's one of those things that's starting to become a realization in the industry. And we're starting, like, we brought the year before my first year, they brought a bag of one of the farmers' coffees, and they brought it down there and showed him the actual coffee and tasted the coffee. And he was blown away. Yeah, it was a pretty awesome thing to hear about. And then just even going down there, seeing how they reacted to us being there was pretty crazy. Yeah.
I mean, in Blue State, and I believe Coffee by Design, correct me if I'm wrong, they're big on supporting the local farmers, giving them, all their due rights, fair pay, fair trade, all that, right?
Yeah. There's the whole third wave movement, if anyone's ever heard of that. It's basically the third wave of the way the industry is today, the specialty coffee industry. And the third wave basically is to promote transparency in the path that the coffee takes. And with that, it's a lot of coffee shops visiting farms, and Coffee by Design, the owners for Coffee by Design, I think, like, they are constantly going to Origin, which is what we call visiting farms. They are going, I would say they're probably gone once every 2 months to go visit farmers, visit mills. Yeah, it's awesome. Like, we have, I don't know how many coffees we have, but it's extensive, because at Blue State, I would have on hand probably 10 different coffees. We easily have 30 to 40 different coffees that we're purchasing at one time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
That's incredible. Now,
yeah.
how much of that do you use in rotation every day? I mean, how many lines of coffee do you serve each day at Coffee by Design? And how much goes into like a blend, your house blend and all that? Because that's a specific style, and you can get into that a little bit. House blend is just a particular style of the purveyor or the store or the retailer, right?
Yep. Yeah. All the different blends, the consistency is non-existent for blends. The house blend, it could be anything. You never know. It could be a light roast blend. It could be a dark roast blend. You have no idea. And even then, when you get into light roast, dark roast, that all depends on what the roaster deems to be a light roast and a dark roast. It's one of the biggest issues. But yeah, we do a lot of blends because we also do all our wholesale accounts get the option of actually creating their own blend with the coffees we have. And with that, we have hundreds and hundreds of different blends that we bag up within a given week. So, but in terms of like single origin, just non-blends, we probably put out, I think it's about 15 to 18 different single origin coffees, which is impressive. Not a lot of coffee companies are able to do that.
No, they're not. And we talked about that before you moved, single origins and how it compared to like when we talked about AOC laws in France. And I was asking you, is the coffee industry going to get there? And I think I remember you saying you'll never see an actual individual farm being recognized, but it's more of a region that's recognized, correct?
Region, yeah, but like you are starting to see the farmers. The farmers are coming out. Like for instance, even just like with Blue State Coffee, when we visited the farm, we put the farm's name on the bag. It was just something that we believed in. And so if anyone ever asked, it would be like, well, where is this from? We're like, well, this is actually from an actual farm. We have the name right there. So if you ever went to that origin, you could look up the farm. If you could get up the mountain, you could go see the farm.
Right.
Yeah. So the industry is moving in that direction, and more people are supporting that. But we still have the biggest hurdle is that there's a lot of dark roast drinkers. And unfortunately, with dark roast, you're basically taking a bean. If we're to spend $3-4 a pound on green coffee, if you roast it dark, you're getting rid of all of the characteristics of that coffee. So like when we talk about, basically making a specific type of wine and bringing out the natural flavors within that wine. When you dark roast something, you literally are just saying, well, I don't care about that. And I just want to taste the smokiness, the burnt caramel, which isn't bad. It's not bad. And I understand the point of in the industry, but it's the liveliness and overall characteristic of the coffee is just gone. You can give me any dark roast and I'll know exactly what it's going to taste like. I never need to know region. I never need to know any information about that coffee.
Right.
So
there you go. But even in
I don't
the
even
coffee,
know if I just answered your question. What?
No, you did. Because that was a question we left off on before you moved. And I've been in the grocery business years. When I worked for Stop and Shop, and I can remember coffee aisle, just 30 feet of just canned coffee, Hills Brothers, Maxwell House, Folgers. And now you're starting to see those brands shrink down. And it's more, obviously the K-Cups are huge, but now you're starting to see whole bean sections starting to expand and, pre-ground coffee expand. And because I've talked to you, because I have to teach this section in my course, I'm starting to recognize names, Yirgacheffe, Sumatra. And you start to see more and more of those brands start branching out. And I'm starting to see K-Cups come out with those names on it. I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. So, I'm like, oh, I got to talk to Nate about this when I get a hold of him. So you're starting to see that more and more recognition come out. You're starting to see chains like Starbucks starting to put more single origin, I don't want to call them tap lines, but, coffee lines in the retail establishments. But, their names I'm starting to become more and more familiar with. The general public's got to be saying, what's going on? As they're tasting different styles like that, they're saying, oh, and they start to identify a flavor profile with each one and say, I like that flavor. I'll stick with that, see where it takes me. Do you see more and more of that trend out there? You must buy some great coffee though. You're not. Yeah,
even the coffees we dark roast, we're still buying. They're pretty high quality. And yeah, you're starting to see, I mean, any grocery store, I mean, it's been a big push because I think people are just realizing there's more variety out there. When you just look at something that just says Folgers, you know, it's a one-trick pony. It tastes the same across the board in my mind.
Right.
Yeah, and then you just start moving into just, you know, these different coffee companies. I mean, the craft beer industry is taking off. Wine has always been this sort of rabbit hole that you can go down, and has always been this accessibility in terms of all these different kinds of wines, and you can really start diving in.
Right.
But, you know, coffee, beer finally started to get that going, but coffee starting to actually get into grocery stores in a much more unique way. So yeah, I've been seeing that, and we still have a long way to go to be anywhere near the realm of wine.
Right. But it's kind of mimicking the craft beer sector, where it's, I mean, again, like you said, it's still a long way from there, but you think eventually it'll get there? Whoops.
Sorry, my cat just went crazy, and I have no idea why.
That's what happens when you're live.
Right?
Live without a net. You can't plan that any better. I'll edit that for YouTube.
All right.
That'll be the clip of the week, 1 million hits. So, coming from New Haven, going to Portland, what's the biggest difference out there? I mean, that's got to be like coffee heaven out there, but not only coffee. Yeah. From what you're telling me, it's like an epicenter of Epicurean foods, you know, craft beers. And before this, we were in the green room having a conversation. You traded vineyards down here, but up there you're getting great food and great breweries, obviously. What else goes on in Portland?
It's basically, I mean, like how we were talking even in the green room, it's just there's a huge support for local. And the breweries here are just fantastic. Like I've even when I lived in Providence and looking back at it, I'm like, why weren't there great breweries down there? There aren't. And in New Haven, or in Connecticut, they're starting to pop up like we were talking about, but there's such a concentrated amount of breweries up here that are all putting out top grade beers, and the food is fantastic.
I think Connecticut's up to 45 breweries now.
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome.
It's going through the roof. But you're
Maine's
a huge
2,000.
2,000?
No.
No.
I have no idea.
Who knows? You wouldn't know. There's probably some small guy in a garage somewhere, a nano brewery. Right. But you're a huge supporter. You're a huge supporter of local sustainability, the local economy. Even in Long Island, I saw a lot of that when we went out for our honeymoon out in Long Island in 2010. I saw it huge out there, where every restaurant was just so supportive of the local coffee roaster, the brewery, obviously the vineyards, but every little individual farm. And I know you're a firm believer in that, a huge supporter of that, and you're seeing more and more of that in Maine now, right?
Yeah, and I think it's been around for a really long time. I mean, when a Starbucks opened up here in downtown Portland, they were getting rocks through the windows. I mean, that was 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. So it's just something where people are strongly supportive of basically the local community.
Right.
Yeah, I have to. I mean, like I hate going to Walmart. I mean, there's times when you just do it, but it's like these big box stores are just they're taking away the fun and the character of actually going out and buying something. So like buying a bottle of wine at Walmart, I could buy the same bottle of wine at Walmart or go to Grand Vin, and I'm going to have a way better experience going to Grand Vin. Well, you know, when Chris and Carol were there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what's the number one question people ask you about coffee? Because they know you're in the coffee business. So what's the number one question they ask you?
Where does espresso grow?
Where does espresso grow?
Just so anyone knows, if anyone's in, espresso is a form of brewing coffee. It's not an actual bean you pluck out of the earth. But we all knew that, right? But it is probably the most common question that I hear time and time again. Or what's my favorite flavor, hazelnut or French vanilla or something like that.
And that was one of the questions I got from one of our my social media followers. Because of what you do you still drink Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or anything?
No, I don't drink Dunkin' Donuts. I do occasionally try to get Starbucks, but I still just am turned off. It's more like when you walk into a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts, it's consistency. And that's what I think the appeal is of these big box stores and these big chains and all that. I mean, it's the consistency. You know you're not going to get something awesome, but you know what you're going to get.
Right, yeah. Convenience too. And I did that the other day. I mean, I pulled through a McDonald's. I think they use Newman's now. And just because, I mean, I like the flavor of it, but this past time, the more I'm taking notice of it, I mean, it smells like a ground cup of Folgers now. But it has flavor. That's the whole thing. I'm not a coffee snob by any means. But like, I don't drink Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not going to crap on them because they're huge.
They do good things for the industry in the end.
Yeah, but
they pay the farmers.
Oh, they do good. You know,
they do. Someone's calling you a snob, Chris.
Yeah, I'm drinking $1 coffee from McDonald's. I know. That's convenience and price point for me, but it's flavor. And then the other thing is, I go to Fuel down here in New Haven. I get an Americano decaf, and a lot of people say, "Well, you're just getting watered down with coffee." But again, it has something to do with the flavor and the consistency of the body of the coffee when they add the hot water to it. There's something about it that appeals to me, and I enjoy it. So again, it's like wine, whatever you want.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I mean, you're not getting watered down coffee. Your espresso is so concentrated when you add the water to it, it's actually balancing it out.
Good. Okay. That's
so you can just something. Yeah, there you go.
See, I learned something. So your approach to coffee, with your experience in coffee, how does that help you approach wine? Wine buying, wine tasting.
It helps me. I mean, like right off the bat, one of the most complicated things and confusing things is understanding regions and how that affects any plant. So sitting there and understanding where a grape is coming from and digging into that, especially like you just even saying from the region that this rosé is coming from and that what's typically coming out of there. If I'm getting something from Central America in coffee, I know that it's going to be bright, acidic. It's going to have some like orange and grapefruit flavors to it. It's going to be delicate in body, and going over into wine, I can easily translate that. I still have a super long way to go because it's a hobby of mine rather than where coffee's an actual job.
Right.
But know, that's how I've been able to have conversations with you, and I can understand what you're talking about when you say, well, what's typically coming from this region. That's the biggest thing that I pay attention to. And
so not every region, not every country can grow coffee, correct?
Correct. Yeah. There's a belt. So
yeah, the coffee belt. But somebody always says Kona blend from Hawaii.
Yeah.
You want to touch on that? Because there's a lot of people, Kona's the best coffee in the world. I'm like, and I bite my tongue because I don't have that knowledge. And I'm like, I don't think so. But like, I defer to you because I know from you, and there's another gentleman I spoke with before. He's like, it's out of that region. Get into that a little bit.
Yeah, so like if you have like the whole world map, like if you're just looking at a flat map, it's basically runs a little bit north and south of the equator all the way across. Kona it's the appeal for that is the fact that one, it's made in America, two, it's made in America, and three, it's made in America. That's basically the only appeal. It's overly priced. There's some great coffees coming out of there, like anything. Like if you go anywhere and you say, well, predominantly you're going to be getting bad wine here, you're going to still see awesome producers, but they're few and far between. But yeah, so it's basically, I mean, you're spending way too much money on something that is just not worth it.
Wow.
Do you want me to expand on that? I don't.
No, that was perfect.
Okay, cool.
But still, again, if you like Kona coffee, fantastic. But it's like anything else. Enjoy what you like. But I
mean, again, at the end of the day, there's some great producers. You just need to find them. A lot of the stuff you find in the store, they're putting the labels basically selling you, or is basically what you're buying. So,
Another question that came in from my social media. What's the next trend coming in coffee?
Next trend. Interesting.
Like right now, because of the season, it's not necessarily a trend, but it's been around for a while. Cold brewing, and you were posting a picture this morning talking about cold brewing. Considering the season we're in, you want to explain cold brewing a little bit?
So there's different ways to make iced coffee. Cold brew is one of them. What I did this morning actually was called flash freezing. It's a Japanese style, where basically you brew hot water over ice. So basically, right when the brewed coffee hits the ice, it flash freezes it. Because the problem is that there's a lot of people that make iced coffee where they'll brew it and either put it in the fridge or they will let it get to room temperature and then put it in the fridge. The thing about coffee is that as it cools, it's something that we do when we buy coffee. The moment it's hot, when it's fresh, it tastes different from when it's 5 minutes from there, 10 minutes from there, 15 minutes from there, until a certain point where as it's totally room temperature, all flavor is gone. It's basically actually evaporating. That's what's happening. And so if you take iced coffee and brew it and then let it set to room temperature or let it gradually get cooler in the fridge, it actually loses all its flavor. But if you do a flash freeze method where you brew it over ice, it actually holds in the flavors with the coffee. And then cold brew is using cold water. So you actually, and it's a much longer process. You're going 12 to upwards of 24 hours brewing the coffee. Right. And it's using cold water.
Just steeping it overnight.
Yep. That's probably one of the biggest things, and I would say that that's already here. Personally, in terms of the industry, the direction that the industry wants to go, not necessarily say like a new coffee drink or something, is doing away with the pretentious side. There's a lot of arrogance in this industry, just like I'm pretty sure you can attest to in wine. And there's a lot of people that don't go into the small local shop and coffee bean is nitroing their cold brew. I'm very curious. Nitroing is just like building you're basically making a stout out of the coffee. You're agitating the coffee and then basically, when you pour it, it's nitrogen infused. They also say nitrogen helps preserve the coffee long-term. But then on top of it, you're basically making a stout out of your iced coffee. To answer,
question, Cheryl.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Good question.
My heart stout. But yeah, so I don't know what I was saying. But yeah, so basically get rid of the arrogance. I feel like a lot of people in here can say that they've walked into a local coffee shop and felt like they weren't welcome or that they weren't able to order what they wanted, or were basically looked down on.
That's what we deal with in retail too. I mean, we've had conversations about this, and I've had conversations with several people in the chat room there. I mean, it's the same thing everywhere, but that's why I want to take this show, because I talk to a ton of people on Twitter, especially. We have great conversation, and they're so open-minded. And I don't necessarily get that here in Connecticut, aside from my customers like yourself and everything else, where I can have conversation, just real casual, not pretentious. Where like the craft beer community is very welcoming. I mean, there's snobs in that category too. But I mean, especially in this business, in the retail business, in the restaurant business, the wine people are it's just nobody wants to work with each other and be supportive of each other, where on social media, everybody's just so supportive. So doing this live, drinking a bottle of wine with somebody and having a good time with them, I mean, I love that. I just love sharing wine with people and everything without, just turning into a big pissing match. I tried I wanted to do I'm a CSW, and I met another one in another store. I said, maybe we could do a tasting in store one time. And he was just like so territorial. I'm like, I know it's your store. I said, I'm not trying to take business away from it, but I think it would be fun. 2 different palates, 2 different, schools of experience. Let's, you pick the cheeses, I'll pick wines from your store, you pick wines. I said, let's just collaborate. Let's do something fun for the customer. I mean, maybe they get a kick out of it. And he was not having it. I'm like, I get it. No problem. I'll stick to social media.
He's scared of you, Chris. You probably know more than him.
No, definitely not. I mean, everybody knows something. I don't know a hell of a lot. There's people out there that know more than me that took the same exam. I passed that exam, and I don't know how, but I got my certificate. I'm still shaking my head, I disbelief. But try the wine again.
Okay.
The rosé. See how it changed up.
By the way, who's Robert Parker? That's how novice I am with wine.
Who is the Robert Parker coffee? Remember the point system we used at Grand Vin?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's one of the bigger guys in the business. He's the one that started the whole thing. So do you have somebody in the coffee industry that rates coffees? Is there a trade publication kind of like that where they're saying, oh, the Yurgashev from this zone got 93 points this year?
No. There's, in terms of like the guy that everyone listens to, basically worships the ground he walks on, is George Howell. He's based in Massachusetts. He's considered like basically the grandfather of coffee, the specialty coffee industry. He has a roastery in Mass, and then he just opened up a coffee shop in Boston. He's like, I think like late 60s, early 70s. He's getting up there. But yeah, the problem with coffee is that there's no consistent grading system. Everyone, like when I went and bought coffee, I graded the coffee, and we graded internally with the importer and the other coffee shops that came with us. But I couldn't sit there and say, well, this is what the coffee got, and this is what the industry needs to abide by. You can't sit there and be like, oh, this got a 90. Great. Right. But someone else can walk in the door and be like, well, no, that's an 89. And no one, you just have to go by who's basically grading it.
Right. Right.
So unfortunately, there's no consistency in that.
Yeah, no consistency.
There's no guidelines. There's no set standard. There's nothing. I mean, it's very loosely done.
Right. Well, same with these publications. I mean, it's one person's opinion. I mean, somebody could be tasting a cab from Napa, give it a 90-point rating.
Yeah.
And another guy comes in who only drinks Spanish wines, tries the Napa cab and said, well, it's okay. I'll give it an 85. It's not bad. So it's all subjective anywhere you go. It depends on who's drinking it and what their mood is, what they had before, what they ate during the day. It baffles my mind sometimes, but hey, you get a good day, you get a good critic, you show him your wines and he says, oh, wow, this is fantastic. I'll give it 95 points. Fantastic. You hit the gold mine that day.
Yeah.
So going back to that rosé, how's it tasted now? It's changing up for me. It's getting a little more tart, a little more sour on it.
The sweetness is almost non-existent. It's there, but it's made super quick.
Yeah. But still nice dry. It's got good body to it.
Mm.
Again, that's just what I'm feeling.
No, I'm totally feeling that.
Yeah. This is great summer wine. I love the cans right now, especially these little ones. I pop them, pour a glass, I'm good. For whatever reason in my head, because I'm psychotic maybe. I don't drink leftover wine. I mean, I will put a cork back in a wine if I think it's not ready. It needs some time to develop, get some air into it. But for whatever reason, just in my psyche, I won't touch a wine the next day. So the cans, I don't know. It's a whole fresh. Again, it has no bearing on anything in the world. But in my head, there's a screw loose somewhere. Popping a can, popping a cork just seems so fresh to me. So these like little single serves are fantastic. As long as the quality keeps going up, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
So,
this is the first time seeing these.
Yeah, they don't have anything like this up there yet, right? It's coming across like. The last place I worked at, they laughed at me. I said, this is something coming. There's a woman I follow on YouTube, and she was talking about it. I'm like, wow. Then a company came into Connecticut in the early fall, and I got some samples. I said, this is the next thing coming. I said, get on board. People laughed. I said, no, this is going to be a standard out there, just like screw caps. Get used to it because this is going to start coming over. And sure enough, more and more as we're getting into the fall again, you're starting to see more and more come on the scene. I mean, they're late now, but come next spring and summer, you're going to see it go out of control again. Just like canned beer, canned craft beer, like 5-6 years ago, you started seeing little bits and pieces of canned beer here. Not everybody has a canned beer just because it's universally accepted now.
Yeah.
So finish up that rosé. We're going to crack open the other one.
Okay.
So I'm going to give myself a little pour. So while Nate's finished that up, I mean, this is going to be backwards on the camera. Check out my Instagram page. This is a South African Cabernet Sauvignon from Lytton Park. 2012, I believe. Yeah, this is a 2012 still. So you're talking about a Cabernet with 4 years aging on it already. I'll give you a little background. This comes from, obviously comes from South Africa. I already said that. A region called the Cape Winelands, which is the largest wine growing region in South Africa. Soil's real earthy, as in you're getting a lot of oak leaf, a lot of rainfall. So this is not blended. It's 100% Cabernet. All right.
You said it is 100% Cabernet?
It's 100%. They don't blend it at all. But within this region, they're known for producing a lot of brandy and a lot of table wine. So as I'm doing research on this wine, just the vineyard, people that make it and everything, generally they're probably pulling Cabernet from different parts of different vineyards they own to make one big, kind of like a house blend. It's called their Cafe Cabernet. So, I mean, South Africa, they grow a ton of different things. Their claim to fame, quote unquote, was Pinotage, which is it's like a fruitier Pinot Noir.
Oh, okay.
Get to the drinking, Jen. Who's pushy?
Yeah, I know, it's a Sunday night.
Sunday night, I know, right? But, their Pinot Noirs, their Chardonnays are fantastic. But I tried this Cabernet a few months ago, and I'll try it. I'll get into price point and everything else. So give it a swirl. Take a look at it. Nice dark inky. Not necessarily.
Sorry, I took a sip, too.
You took a sip. You cheated. All right. So we'll go.
Sorry.
No, it's still coming off of a ton of alcohol. And this has been open for a while. It's only 13.5%, but I'm smelling a little mocha in it. I don't know if you get that. Definitely earthy, but here, give it a try.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, right?
That is good.
What are you getting off this? Exhale through your nose. Keep your mouth shut. You're picking up like mocha and coffee. That's the first thing that comes to me, besides other things.
I'm definitely getting the mocha. Getting blackberry in the flavor.
Yeah. Again, when we tried this, when our salesperson came in, tasted us on this, we're tasting blind to the fact of how much it costs. I don't want to know how much it costs when they're tasting me on these things right off the bat, because that'll alter perception sometimes. So I try this and say, oh my God, this is really good. What is it, 20, 25 bucks? What's your guess?
What's my guess of how much this costs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say probably like over $20. What is this, like a $10 wine?
Retail $10.
What? I was right?
Yeah, retail $10. If I had the Price is Right music, I'd play it for you right now.
Holy crap.
You know how much we pay for it wholesale?
How much?
$5. It's ridiculous.
Dang.
It's a $5 bottle of Cabernet from South Africa. By the time it gets here and everything else, how much did they pay for it? $3? But it's a good everyday Cabernet. It shows good. Yeah. It's got good character to it. It's got different, when we get into characteristics, it's got different layers of flavor.
It doesn't even, it's not a crazy body. It's maybe more on the medium side.
Yeah.
It's like, have you had this chilled?
I haven't had it chilled. It would probably do better if I put a slight chill on it, because this room I'm in now, I turned the air conditioning off in it for the past week. So I just turned it back on tonight because I was in here. But if you put a slight, if I stuck this in the fridge and pulled it out 2 hours before we did this, I mean, it'd probably show a little better. Cellar temp. I always tell people, even reds, stick them in your fridge, 20 minutes before you serve them. Just get them down to cellar temperature. I mean, I don't have a cellar. I have a basement, but that's where I keep my wines, on the side of the house where the deck overhangs, so it's nice and cool against that wall. I usually keep all my wines over there. But for tonight's purpose, I've had it here all week. I didn't get a chance to get it down there. But you're right, yeah. A slight chill on this probably would have made it show a little better.
I mean, it still tastes fantastic. Like I don't
You're not mad.
I don't look at this as a $10 wine.
Yeah, you're not mad at it, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I'm liking that. I like it.
That's really good.
I like it. Just
Chris, thanks for sending them to me. I love all these wines.
No problem. Now, can Morgan try anything yet or no?
Can she or has she?
Can she?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Did you save any rosé for her?
Yeah, of course I did. Are you serious? I'm not getting in trouble.
Happy wife, happy life.
Don't ever say that around her either.
What's that?
I say that jokingly, and she's just like, I hate that phrase.
Yeah.
No, it's because she loves rosés.
Yeah. She's big on Chardonnay too. We'll have to do a Chardonnay show with her.
She's big on hating Chardonnays.
I thought she was drinking Chardonnays before she left.
She was, because she found out that if it wasn't oak aged,
see,
it was good.
She tried that Skywalker Vineyard Chard with us.
Yeah.
And you missed when we opened up the Pinot Noir.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw the picture.
In celebration of the Force. Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, but it didn't taste like Pinot Noir, to be honest with you. It's very, when I say fruit forward, I mean, it was tons of blackberry, black cherry, plums. It was very fruit forward, but it tastes more like a Syrah, like a real deep, inky Syrah, but it was so good. There was a few people that came that night because I posted it online. There's a few people from where you used to live that were, they're Star Wars geeks like us. And they knew what the name is, so they came running in. They're like, oh, can I get a try? I'm happy to pour with people. Yeah. You know how I am. I'm happy to pour for people that appreciate it.
Well, I mean, we baked you cookies for a reason.
Oh, yeah. They were good cookies.
And by we, I mean Morgan, but same thing.
So, closing up, we're going to get into the last portion of this, what we're going to call spit or swallow. So, going back to the rosé. What do you think?
I mean, I want to go even a step further. I would savor that one.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, granted, it's just a little can, and I'll end up chugging it anyways. But yeah,
right.
It's just as complex as I would want. Like a lot of rosés out there tend to be just blah.
Yeah.
And I never know. Like I asked you that question. I was like, well, hey, any good rosés this year? Like it tends to be just littered with a bunch of crappy rosés, and you have to just sift through them and find the good ones.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was a great wine.
Morgan had commented on something I posted about a rosé that I got from a wine club. It was fantastic. And I actually tried getting it for you guys to send up there so she could try it. But it's sold out. So when you taste a good one, it just goes like this. I think this might be sold out by now. I don't know. Yeah. If anybody's interested, like I said, email me, let me know. I think it's sold out right now. But like you said, when something's good, it's gonna go like crazy. That's the first one, because people like you are gonna ask people like me, what's good this season, and my job as a retailer is to filter through all the things that I don't care for. I don't want to necessarily call them garbage, even though on some of my blogs I say, they're garbage. But I got to sift through all this stuff, and I got to call it like it is, but I give people a fair chance, and I'll say, this is fruit forward. If you like that, this is for you, but like you and your wife, you would like this. This is dry, this has some fruit to it, but it's mostly dry fruit, right?
Yeah. And I especially love tartness, and I don't like my whites or rosés to be overly sweet. So even seeing that sweetness somewhat disappear as it basically sat in the glass. I like that. It was fantastic.
Now, what would you pair this with for food?
Oh man, come on, Chris! I didn't expect this question.
Well, it's gonna piggyback off another question for coffee. How do you pair coffee with food? Because you had touched on something when we did a test run during the week that you were going to do a coffee and food pairing with a local restaurant down here at one point.
Yeah.
So
a lot of times we'll pair with coffee because of so for instance, if a coffee has a lot of chocolate notes to it, I'll pair, this is the easiest one, but it basically you can pair chocolate to it, because what ends up happening, and I would imagine that this happens in wine, I believe. But with the chocolate, it enhances and brings out more of the chocolate notes in the coffee. So not only is it something that tastes good, but it'll also be something that actually teaches someone how to taste coffee. Yeah. So I don't know if that's the same thing for wine, though. Like when you're pairing, I mean, because anytime I went into Grand Vin and asked, I'm having this tonight. I mean, if I'm having pasta, I know, with red sauce, I know I'm getting a red wine. But, asking you, hey, what would you recommend? Again, also probably red wine's not standard 100% across the board. But, yeah. So right back at you. Coffee and tuna. Oh, man. A tuna fish sandwich with milk and coffee. That sounds good. Sounds gross.
Somebody might like it, though. You never know.
That is true.
People poo-poo red wine with fish, but there's some. I drank a Chardonnay from Burgundy with an omelet just because I wanted to drink the Chardonnay. I mean, it was the worst pairing I've ever had, aside from a blue cheese. Blue cheese is so critical with everything you pair up against it, but. An egg, like a 3-cheese egg omelet with a Chardonnay. It just, all you tasted was like burnt matches. I mean, it was disgusting. But I was so into the Chardonnay, I just wanted to get deep into it. And that was the only thing I had to cook in the house. But you live and learn. It didn't work. So the rosé, we're going to say is savor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say swallow. I like it. This is good. I enjoyed it. Not something I'm sitting back. This is just, I'm chilling it down. I'm drinking it. I'm enjoying it. Give me another can. Let's go.
And I guess rosés tend to be one of those that really only comes around for the summertime. And it tends to be when you want a refreshing drink. So I could totally see that you're going to, basically chug it back. But I think it's just still rare for me to find a good rosé.
There's some out there that I sit and savor. I mean, there's this one that's hard to get. And when I get a bottle, even though it's not expensive, it's like a $15, $16 bottle from a
White Girl Rosé.
Huh?
White Girl Rosé?
No.
What is it called?
That was that one was a dump. It wasn't even a spit, it was a dump. But some people like it. He sells I don't know 100,000 cases, this guy. But no, this Kermit Lynch one was fantastic. I mean, when I get my hands on a bottle, I'll just sit there and sip it as long as it stays chilled. There's a couple of Long Island rosés. I do the same thing because they're such short supply. I'll just sit back and that's it. I'm all about it. So moving on to the cab, what do you think about that?
Definitely a swallow.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I'd like to see how this. I'm a guy that likes to see how it tastes the next day.
Yeah.
So
I'll agree with you there.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the cork in this. I'm going to try it tomorrow night, see how it developed. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah. It's just, because I feel like it has enough interesting elements to it that, I just want to see how it ages, even 24 hours. I am also super curious to see it lightly, just slightly chilled.
Yeah.
Just to see.
Did you try it again?
I did.
I'm getting a ton of black pepper on this.
I had that on the nose in the get-go.
Yeah. I mean, for $10, that's a great everyday cab. It's not flat. Yeah. It's not watered down. people say, or you don't drink anything cheap. I'm like, this is $10. This excites me because it has so much character to it. And, trying to segue into the coffee world, like, can you go back and drink like Dunkin' Donuts or anything once you've tasted what you've tasted? And it's kind of like similar to me. And even with beer, we'll find commonplace in beer. I can't drink Coronas or Bud Lights anymore just because I'm always looking for flavor. I'm not necessarily a snob, but I'm always looking for flavor. My palate's just constantly craving something different, some different characteristically with it. Yeah. Is that the same with you?
No, it's totally the same thing with me. I'm always looking. It's funny because like in the beginning, when I would find some beer or wine that I liked, I would stick with that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I would start veering off that path and taking a chance that I was like, oh man, there's so many good things out there. Like you get very easily overwhelmed with the amount of wines on the shelf. Mm-hmm. But then if you really think about it and reverse it and be like, well, it's exciting because if you just take a chance on something, you might find something super unique and interesting that excites you in the way where you want to savor it.
Right. That's why I always tell people, when I see what they're drinking, especially when customers come in, I always use Kendall Jackson. They always say this is the best Chardonnay I've ever had. This is the best. I'm like, well, try this. I mean, that's kind of my job. Try this. You might like it. Your taste buds get so burnt out once in a while. You got to throw something else in the mix to shock it and say, oh, wow, that's different. Let me explore that for a little bit. That I always try to get people to do that. Unfortunately, it works 50-50 some of the time, But with people like you who are adventurous, I mean, you are the wine drinker now. You're out there, you follow, social media, you're inquisitive, you try different things, you're our like wet dream. You come into the shop, you're like, oh, this is what I'm looking for. I want this
Chris, you're making me blush. I'm blushing.
But honestly, for somebody to come into a store, and have conversations and say, this is what we're having for dinner tonight, instead of just saying, I want a Chardonnay. You're experimenting, you're trying different things. And that's the wine drinker now. That's what they're coming in. They're reading things on blogs. They're reading things on social media. They're trying things at restaurants. And they're coming in saying, this is what I've had. I like this. Show me something like this. This is what I'm having for dinner. Or I just want to drink tonight. I just want something to drink. And I get like that. I just, when I go to a restaurant that has a great wine list, I'm just like, I just want to drink this bottle and get deep into it. I don't want to think about anything else. That's it. That's what I'm in the mood for. Even we need a night off sometimes.
Can enjoy that wine.
Yeah. So I want to thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate you being my first guest. We just tipped over the hour mark.
Thank you, Chris. This was awesome.
I kept you up late tonight. The coffee world does not stay up late. People have to understand that. We do call this service industry night. So coffee is part of the hospitality world. And they are up bright and early every morning, keeping us all charged and fueled for the week ahead, especially on a Monday morning. That's got to be your busiest day of the week, no?
Actually, because I don't work out front. I work in the back. Right. So no.
It isn't.
But I watch that line out front. I watch it. It's pretty busy.
Yeah. So I do apologize for keeping you up past your bedtime.
No, trust me, I'm probably going to go down and drink some more wine with Morgan. So I'll be up a little bit longer, Chris.
Excellent. So thank you once again for coming on. You want to pimp out where the people can find you? If they have any coffee questions, if you're on Instagram or social media, throw it out to everybody. Tell them where you are.
I mean, I am on Facebook. I'm not on Twitter as much. I probably haven't logged in the past like 7 or 8 years. So basically the best way to find me is on Instagram, which is Nathan.Hann. Can I write on this?
You can write in the chat room right there. If you click in the chat room, you can put your thing down there. And they can also find you if anybody's interested in photography. They can find you. What's the website for Storybook? Storybookimaging.com?
Yeah, Storybook Imaging. Imaging photography.
And you travel all through New England, correct?
Yeah, we do. My brother's based in Needham, Mass, and then I'm up here. But we've done weddings in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mass, Vermont, New Hampshire. We've done all of New England, actually.
Wow.
I hope I spelled that all right. Yeah.
So I encourage everybody, shoot Nathan some questions about coffee if you're into it. If you're inquisitive about different things going on in the coffee world, shoot him questions. He takes an approach like I do, where it's really non-pretentious. He doesn't talk over your head. He really, he has a passion for it. And that's the whole thing. If you're passionate about something, you want people to enjoy it as much as you do. And that's how I approach wine. That's how I approach beer and everything. So again, thank you very much, Nathan. I appreciate you coming on. Give that baby a hug and tell Morgan I said thank you very much. Yeah. You can follow us on Instagram, Wine School 101. Coincidentally, we're having some Twitter problems tonight, so that's also the new Twitter account, Wine School 101. If the other one bounces back, it's Wine1011. My website, if you want to email me, it's vino@wineschool101.com. Get in touch with me, and we look forward to the next broadcast. Thank you again, Nathan. Have a good night.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'll be in touch with you soon.
You too. Yeah, sounds good.
Take care. Bye-bye.